Hey guys, so first we have Cherokee Rose, and I'm not a big fan of this episode because it is boring. It is a slog to sit through. It's a season 2 episode, kind of in their boring spell, and I like the relationship between Daryl and Carol, of course, who doesn't, but I'm not really a big fan of this episode. I don't absolutely hate it, that's why it's number 20. Next we have the season 7 episode, The Well, and this is the introduction to the kingdom and King Ezekiel as well, and I think they could have done a little better. Like the last one, this episode is just a slog to sit through, so I'm not a big fan. You're going to see a trend here with a lot of these episodes being a slog to sit through, and this is no different. Stradivarius from season 9, although I love Luke as a character, and we get a little bit more of his backstory in this episode, I'm just not really a fan. I don't know, just the whole music instrument deal, and I love that about his character, but I don't know, I just don't like this episode that much. Next we have a season 10 episode 13. It is Michonne's final episode called What We Become, and I don't really like this episode. I think they could have done Michonne's send-off a lot better. Yeah, I don't care for the hallucinations and really the plot as a whole. I wish they would have given her a better send-off. This is the season 5 episode, Forget, and I have forgotten what it's about. That's how forgettable it is to me, so moving on. Next we have the season 7 episode, Something They Need. This is where Tara shows the group where they can get guns, and they go to Oceanside and steal their guns. So, I'm not really a fan of this episode. I don't know, it just... along with most of Season 7 as a whole, I just don't care for the dialogue and the pacing. I don't know. Something about it. Okay, well, we finally made it to the Season 10 bonus episodes, and this is one more. This is the episode with the T-1000 in it, Robert Patrick. I love him as an actor, but I don't care for this episode. It is a Gabriel and Aaron-centric episode, and I love them as characters, but I don't like this episode that much. Next, we have another Season 10 bonus episode. It is the one where Princess loses her mind and starts hallucinating King Ezekiel, called Splinter. And I'm not really a fan of this episode. You'd think I would relate to this episode, but I don't. Next we have Monsters. I think it is absolutely asinine whenever Daryl comes up behind Morales and shoots him. I don't know. I don't care for this episode. This is one of those Season 8 just Gimple speak episodes. Next we have the Season 1 episode, Wildfire, and this is where the group discusses going to the CDC, and I can't remember what else happens in it. It's kind of forgettable. So I put it on the list because I don't really care for it. Next we have the Season 8 episode, Time for After, and this is another heavily Gimplified episode with a lot of Gimple speak in it, so I don't care for it that much, so that's why I put it on the list. Next we have the Season 7 episode, Say Yes, and I love Rick and Michonne's relationship so much, and this is only them two in this episode, I think, but I don't care for it because it's such a slog to sit through, and that deer was just horrendous. Next we have the Season 11 episode, New Haunts, and I don't know, this episode's a little too tame for its own good. I just never really liked it. Something about it. It's just too plotting or something. I don't know. But I don't really care for it. Next we have another Season 11 episode. I think it's the one right after it if I'm not mistaken. Or a couple episodes later. It's called Rogue Elements. This is the one where Eugene thinks, or discovers that the girl that he thinks is Stephanie is not Stephanie. But at the very end he meets the real Stephanie. And I don't care for this episode. It is a very boring episode in my opinion. Next we have The Damned from Season 8, and I don't even know what happens in this episode. It's just a bunch of action and no substance. Just a bunch of shooting and no substance. It's just a chaotic. I don't really know what's going on, so that's why I put it on the list. You all knew this was going to be somewhere. We have Slapdown from Season 5. Not a fan at all. Don't like the hospital arc that much. Don't really like Dawn. I'm sorry, I love you, Beth, but I don't like this episode. Next we have Welcome to the Tombs, the season finale of season 3, and yeah, this was a big, huge letdown. I was expecting so much more from this episode, and what the hell? But they made up for it later on, but I'm not a fan of this one. Next we have the season 6 episode Now, and it is the one immediately following the Glenn fake out, I think, or maybe the one after that, I don't know, but I don't like this episode, because what really happens in this episode besides Maggie telling Erin that she's pregnant? I can't think of anything else that really happens. That's why it is pretty high up on this list. My number two least favorite episode of The Walking Dead, say it with me guys, Swear, from season 7, the Tara-centric episode where she discovers Oceanside. Sorry if it's cliche to put it here, it's usually number 1, but I put it number 2 because there's one I don't like a little bit more. But yeah, I don't like this one either. Boo. You all know it was coming, here it is. My number 1 least favorite episode of The Walking Dead starts with a D, ends with a D. Diverged. I don't like it. I don't like it. Absolutely nothing happens in this episode. The one good thing that I will say about it is it's got lots of dog in it. Love it. I love me some dog. I love me some Daryl too. I love me some Carol. But don't like this episode. Put them all together in one boring episode where nothing happens, and you got my least favorite episode of The Walking Dead of all time. There you have it, folks. This has been Trisha's Top 20. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all. Subscribe, not subscribe, don't care. I love you all. Goodbye.